for other people who have functional neurological disorder, FND, otherwise known as conversion disorder, or non-epileptic seizures is a big symptom. If you feel like your life is falling apart like dominoes, I just want to give you hope because mine absolutely did too, but I got it all back. So before I got FND, I was a successful teacher. I was almost finished with a master's degree in teaching. Plus I had side businesses. I raised English Mastiffs and I ran a clothing company, e-commerce company. Now, a really good month for e-commerce might bring in $30,000 in revenue. And I didn't make that much at the Christian school I was teaching at, but that was fulfilling. And I was about to get married the next year, and I got functional neurological disorder, and my world just came crashing down. So I ended up losing about 5 babies. I had to give up all of my jobs and lost my business. My husband ended up relapsing on cough and cold pills because taking care of me took so much out of him that he wasn't able to keep up on his own prescriptions, and he started to black out and lose time, and then probably accidentally ended up relapsing during one of those blackouts. And it was just a whole mess. Like anything that could go wrong just about did go wrong. And an outside abuser was like trying to drive a wedge into our marriage and get us to separate. We ended up separating for a while. And at my lowest point, I ended up homeless and alone, pregnant, in a van, living in a van. And at the time I was bottle feeding a newborn puppy who could die if it got too cold. And it was a little chilly out. So I'm having to snuggle this puppy up next to me in this van to make sure that he stays warm enough at night. So thankfully, that didn't last too long. My family came and rescued me, but I couldn't drive because I had FND and I was across the country. Like I was in another state. They had to come and rescue me at their own expense and then care for me for 2 long years while I got better. But I want to give you hope. I asked God for wisdom, and then I started to dig into the science and research myself as I started to be able to think more and more. And I found a 7-step method with 2 keys that helped me to heal about 95%. And I've gotten my life back, and I've gotten every single back. I have every single thing back. I have a home. My husband is back. He's gone through inpatient rehab, like long-term. He's sober again. I am in the midst of getting tested for fertility, so we will have a family, even though that didn't happen as early as I would have liked. I have a new business. We still have our Mastiffs. We're relaunching that. So I have everything back, everything. God gave me everything back. And this version of my life is even going to be better than the last version. So I want you to know that I've been where you are. I know how it feels to have your life fall apart like dominoes because of stupid FND that keeps you from being able to show up for your family and your world and your businesses in the ways that you would want to. And I want you to not despair. It's the tiniest daily choices that you can make now, day after day after day, that will add up to the big change. I had to make the tiny choices it took me 2 years to go from about 0%. Like I used to be, sometimes I'd be bedbound, sometimes I'd be mute. Sometimes I could only get 2 sentences out, like need food, or sometimes I couldn't even get that out. Sometimes I would just be yelling or screaming at the top of my lungs to try to get somebody to pay attention and help me. I would seize out. I would fall on the floor over and over and over and over and over, and I'd be laying on the floor shaking and tremoring. This was not a pretty picture, and it was not easy. And when you are that low, it really is the tiniest choices and the tiniest habits. And you have to be okay with that. You are not going to see an enormous change right at first. These are going to be choices that you have to make every single day. I'll leave you with my biggest tip and then a couple resources. My biggest tip is to start right now taking a consistent 20-minute break every time your nervous system is triggered into fight or flight mode, into your survival response. Because as you know, when you have FND, and probably a lot of people with non-epileptic seizures, which is a big symptom of FND, another name is conversion disorder. That was the former name of FND. When you have this, as you know, your amygdala gets to be overactive and your body goes into survival mode when it shouldn't at all. and it goes into survival mode a lot more strongly than it should. So it would be like, imagine a healthy person is walking through the woods and a tiger jumps out at them. And they go into a survival response and choose a reaction to survive. That automatic response that floods through your body, all that adrenaline and everything, or the freeze response, or whatever it is, that's meant to keep you alive. Well, a person with FND could be walking through the woods and a bunny jumps out at them. And that's no threat at all, but your body thinks it is, and it has the same exact reaction as if a tiger jumped out at you. And it's horrible. I mean, this would leave me screaming at the top of my lungs to get some kind of relief. I got medicine to help take the edge off for a while, and I was able to stop that for the most part, but man, it was bad. So those 20-minute breaks, they help to rewire your brain. It takes a long time, and that's why you really have to be consistent, because whenever you allow your body to have those symptoms that come on in clusters, you are reinforcing the bad wiring in your brain. And whenever you're in survival mode, your body is functioning on habit, which means that in the brain pathways, it's taking the easiest pathway and the most used pathway. So if you've been having symptoms so much and so often that the most used pathway in your brain is those symptoms, like seizure is the next step. Your brain thinks, oh, well, I'll just have a seizure now. That's appropriate. The survival response has been triggered. Seizure time. And there you are. You have to suffer through a seizure. So the 20-minute break functions as a pattern interrupt, because another thing you have to know is when you go into your survival response, which remember, you cannot control, this prefrontal cortex, which is right behind your forehead, it comes offline. So all right, imagine your brain's inside this, and this is your prefrontal cortex. It just goes like whoop, and now you're functioning on your lizard brain. And sorry, that's better with two hands, but I only have one. I have to hold the camera. And you don't get access to your prefrontal cortex again for at least 20 minutes. I learned from a counselor it takes at least 20 minutes for your nervous system to calm down after it's been triggered into fight or flight. And that's why I developed the 20-minute method. So while your prefrontal cortex is inaccessible, you're purely functioning on habit. And if your brain thinks that the most used pathways are seizures and tremors and all your symptoms, that's what it's going to do if you keep trying to move your body and talk and stuff. That's why the hack is to get around it by laying still, taking a break, resting your brain for 20 minutes. Because if you're doing nothing, then it can't be using those destructive pathways. It might try to start, like it might try to drag out the first symptom on you, but that's when you sit down and you take your 20-minute break and you stop it in its tracks. And what you have to realize is that you're actually preventing the next 20 or 30 symptoms from showing up. And that over time weakens those bad pathways in your brain. And when the 20 minutes is up, your prefrontal cortex comes right back down and it's accessible again. And then you can use your thinking, logical brain, which is responsible for making good decisions. And you can decide, hey, I know I fell down half an hour ago on my way to the bathroom, but now, brain, I am going to order you to walk me to the bathroom like a normal person without falling down or having a seizure. And you'll be able to do it probably after 20 minutes. Now, there's a little bit more to this strategy. That's a glimpse of the first half that you'll find in volume 1 of my book, FND Recovery Guide. It's available on Amazon. Volume 2 just dropped, and it has another strategy that's just as important as that one. But that's a good start for you. And Volume 2 is available now if you want to learn about the reserve energy tank, which is the other half of the strategy. I hope this helps you.